All right, we are recording. We're going to kick things off. My name is Kevin Barney with Mass Bay Youth Lacrosse League. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. As I said numerous times, this kind of whole webinar series that we've been able to do this week kicked off with a phone call about a week and a half ago with one of our presenters who was scheduled to do one of our in-person coaching clinics that we obviously had to cancel. And we ended up, with a quick conversation trying to figure out what can we do. And the conversation led to, these webinars. And then not only from them, but a lot of our other partners and friends of MBYL have stepped up, like these two right now, to say that, we'd love to figure out a way to do something online for coaches and players to, during this challenging time to get a little break, talk some lacrosse, and hopefully learn some things that will help you once we're able to get back out together as a group and play some lacrosse. So it's been an awesome week for me. I think this is like webinar number 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that. But it's been so much fun to connect with a lot of people that I've known for a long time that are great teachers of this game. And it's been, I think, just a lot of fun. And we've been recording these. They are up on our YouTube page. You search Mass Bay Youth Lacrosse League on YouTube. Get to our page, and then all the videos, the recordings of these webinars are up there from the previous ones that we've done. So with that, I want to introduce these two fine gentlemen. We have Sean Quirk and Eric Hagarty from Goalie. And most of you probably in the lacrosse world have seen them around before. Sean is also the head coach of the Boston Cannons, and Eric was a former goalie with the Boston Cannons. He's also currently the head coach at Endicott College. And with Peak Goalie, they run countless clinics and teaching events, along with two really big camps for goalies up at Endicott College each summer. They're really awesome events. I've never seen so many goalies on one field at one time. It's a little scary, but that group. But two great events that they do, and again, just both great players at the position, but even better teachers of the position for goalies and for those coaches that are looking for assistance in coaching up their goalies. So with that, I will turn it over to them. Again, any questions, ask it in at the bottom of your screens is the chat button in the Q&A. You can type in any questions in there, and we'll get those answered as we go along. But I will turn it over to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good. Again, just as Kevin said, thanks for being here. I know for most, if not all of you, your seasons are either in limbo or have been canceled. I coach at Endicott. Our season's been kind of off the books for a week and a half now. So, we want to take some opportunities, like Kevin said, just to connect. And, for Coach Quirk and I, the goalie position is really, our bread and butter. He's coached it. He's run the Peak Goalie Camp for, 2.5 decades now. And, we're really passionate about it. But the thing that we're confident of is that, ultimately when seasons do get going and we're back on the field, the same questions keep coming up. We run that big camp, like Kevin said, and that camp is, geared towards player development. But we've done a number of these coaches clinics, and usually Coach Quirk and I are together. We presented at the IMLCA convention, the U.S. Lacrosse Convention. So this is going to be new for us, kind of doing this remotely. He's obviously in the backyard, which is, a little bit challenging, and I'll be emceeing it from the home office. But, the thing that we want to hit on is, the overall goalie. If you as a coach can devote a little bit of time to your players in that position, what should you be doing? How can you coach them up? What are the drills that will support that? But ultimately, what are the things that, we hear about from coaches at the youth level? How can you foster love for the goalie position, right? We've gone through whole presentations, and at the end of it, we've had coaches that just say, we don't have a goalie. We don't have anybody who wants to play the position. What kind of stuff can we do to create a culture of having goalies in our program? So we'll cover a little bit of that. Coach Quirk will demo kind of how we teach the position, really that, call it the 5-minute goalie, what you should look at when you coach your goalies if you have that time. But, most importantly, what's tough about this, right? Why is it hard to coach goalies compared to attackmen, defensemen, midfielders? The biggest thing for us is really that time. I had a laugh with Coach Quirk yesterday when I talked about our program at Endicott, and I told him I think we should hire a goalie coach for next year. And the reason for that being not because I can't coach the position, but, the time that we spend on the field is with the attack group, the midfield group, the defense group. How can one coach spend time with 3 players or 2 players or 1 player? So it's really that time and resource that probably creates the greatest difficulty. But even more so, once you do get that time with the goalie, it's not necessarily shooting or fundamental stick work. Identifying problems is really tough. Maybe it's a type of shot, maybe it's a certain mechanic, maybe it's mental. There's some problems that goalies face that are really between the ears. So we've learned that identifying what the problem is really one of the hardest parts of this. And then once you do figure it out, maybe, hey, he's struggling off stick hip. What's the problem with that? What drills can you do to support that? It's not like shooting where there's one way to do it. It's not just get your arms up, out and away, step to your target. There's a lot of different ways to coach this position. So once you've found the problem, what can you do to create a solution and help that goalie get better? Hopefully we'll cover a lot of that. I think using Coach Quirk as kind of the test subject here, if you got 5 to 10 minutes in the cage with your goalies, how would you evaluate them on day one? And Coach Quirk's going to really go over what the ready position looks like. That's the foundation that every goalie needs to have. And there's certain things that we look at as non-negotiable. So if you take them away, Coach Quirk will hit that. But this foundation, I think, is what most youth and high school goalies need the most work on, how they set up in the cage. So Coach Quirk will hit that. And then a little bit of what we call step body balance, which is the bread and butter of coaching goalies. So I'll pass the ball to him, and then I'll come back on and just give some drills that you can take back to your programs. Coach Quirk, all you.
Great. Kevin, thanks again for having us at MBYL. It's been a great partnership and organization. Personally, both of my 2 children have gone through the program, and you coaches are doing an amazing thing by supplying coaching knowledge, but mentoring these young kids. And, just that's another testament to joining this coaching session today. So thank you all for being here as well. And taking some time out of your day to learn a little bit more about the position. It's great to see Jack Barney in the screen there. People are working from home and doing what they can. So great to see some family there, KB. Going to dive right into the ready position here. Everything that we talk about as goalies, and we truly believe it's one of the most special positions in all of sports, starts with the foundation, right? It's like your house. You have to have a really strong foundation to support everything else above it. And that's what, Coach Hagarty and our coaching staff at Peak Goalie really emphasize, is that ready position, particularly for youth goalies, middle school, high school, college, all the way up to the pro ranks, is if you can have a really solid ready position, foundation, you're going to be in a pretty good spot to be successful, make saves, and make plays on balls. So going to really walk through this with you all. Once I'm in the cage here, everything starts with the feet, right? Everything starts with the feet. That's my foundation of everything above me. We typically teach shoulder width apart, right? Shoulder width apart in a good athletic position, almost like a linebacker in football or a wrestler. They're always in a position to attack, okay? Whereas if I'm too wide, I'm not in a great position to attack. If I'm too much like a statue, again, not an athletic position, ready to attack. So typically shoulder width apart. Some goalies do like to play a little bit wider outside of the shoulder, and that's fine. But for the most part, again, right here, and notice my feet. They're duck foot. This is something Coach Hagarty and I and our staff talk a lot about, is attacking always. So if I'm straight up, I'm attacking straight naturally. Whereas if I'm duck foot, okay, I'm attacking on a 45-degree angle to make a play on those high shots, those medium shots, and and certainly bounce shots that we'll get into. So shoulder width apart, duck foot, slight bend at the knees, okay, like that linebacker that I'm there, ready to attack, or that wrestler ready to engage. And my hips, really important. My hips aren't forward, not leaning back certainly, but my hips are straight up for the most part. Okay, so I'm here, ready to attack from my hips down, knees slightly bent, duck foot, engaging a play on the ball. Once I get the stick in my hand, okay, that's the next part of the foundation here. How am I holding the stick? We teach top hand up on the plastic. Totally legal, and I'm not strangling the stick, but I'm gently wrapping my pointer finger and my thumb around the head of the stick, and then my middle finger to my pinky are on the shaft, gently wrapping them around. And the reason we teach this is when shots are coming, particularly at the higher levels, middle school, high school, and above, is if a shot comes that I'm holding just the shaft, it can turn. I really got to grip that stick to not allow it to turn and hit it and go in the cage. Whereas if I'm holding the plastic, I'm very gently wrapping my fingers around. I have a much better hold and control of the stick there, okay? My bottom hand, again, we learn things, coaches, from others. Coach Hagarty taught me this years ago. A great way to find where we put that bottom hand is typically 7, 8, 9 inches apart. We don't want a real wide grip because we're getting jammed in. We don't want to be too tight because then we're flimsy making saves. But when you're holding the top part of your stick and you put your elbow down, you place your fingers there, and that's about a good 6, 7, 8 inches apart. And again, goalies can adjust depending on where they feel most comfortable, but a good cue is to put a piece of tape there for these younger goalies so they know where to put that bottom hand, okay? So once I get the top hand up, I find my bottom hand about 6, 7, 8 inches down. I got my hand position on the shaft. Now, cushion between the planes is something that we talk a lot about. You'll see some goalies, particularly at the youth level, kind of in here because they're scared, right? They're kind of sheltering. They're hiding behind the stick. You'll see some goalies playing really wide out. Notice my elbows, they're really locked, okay? Not very mobile, in tight here, hard to make saves. Cushion between the plane is if I put a pane of glass right here, I don't want to break it. So I'm always even on that plane of glass right here. Right out, notice my hands, I can move them freely, get down on low shots, make saves. If I'm out here making a save in, I'm going to break that pane of glass. If I'm here and I'm punching out, again, I'm going to break that pane of glass. So I want to be even keeled on that pane of glass, making saves right out front, okay? So let's put it all together here. When I'm in the cage, again, feet shoulder width apart, slightly duck foot, so I'm constantly attacking, knees slightly bent, hips straight up, cushion between the plane right here. So this is what I look like in the cage. I should be able to hold this position and feel comfortable in it for minutes, 5, 10 minutes, realistically, feel comfortable in that position. Whereas if I'm down like this, or I'm just straight up, I'm not gonna, it's not natural. I'm not gonna feel comfortable, and that's where we're gonna get uneasy, okay? So once we get into the cage, we got our ready position. KB, do we have any questions about ready position right now? Look at your beautiful daughter. I love it. Kids home at work. Okay, here we go. We're going to get right into our arc and angle, where we are in the cage now. Okay, typically, I'm a right-handed goalie. Okay, so I'm going to teach a little bit of shading here. Okay, if I'm straight on and you can see me, what do you have to shoot at? You got equal amount on my weak side and equal amount on my strong side. I'm going to play a game with the shooter because goalies are smarter than shooters. So I'm going to play a game with you to make you shoot to my strong side, my stick side. So I'm just going to gently step over 2 inches, depending on the size of the goalie. And I'm going to give a little bit less on my off stick side and more on my strong stick side. So I'm shading to bait you a little bit to my strong side. Little bit bigger step to attack and make that save. Little bit smaller step to cover the cage here and make that off stick side save. So I'm just shading ever so lightly to that weak side. Okay, really important for these youth goalies because typically, sometimes you'll see them here giving all that up. So again, really emphasize that ready position, shading to the weak side a little bit. Where am I on my arc? Okay, you've probably heard about the 5-point arc, building a house, things of that nature. We keep it really simple. Again, we're here, typically about 7, 8, 9, 10 inches out from the cage. Again, depending on your goalie size. You're dealing with smaller kids, so we encourage you to play back a little bit, typically about 7 or 8 inches off of that goal line. So when I'm here, straight on shot, okay, you all are shooting on me right now straight on, giving up a little bit less on my weak side, more on my strong side. As we come over and shooters are now adjusting where they are on the field, making passes, things of that nature, I'm going to come here on the pipe, and it's going to be really 3 or 4 steps. I'm here, giving less of my weak side. I'm here, totally taking away the weak side now, and then coming to the pipe. So it's 4 steps on that arc to make you comfortable in that little bit of a home for yourself, okay? So again, straight on, shading to the weak side, here, 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 here. Constantly knowing where I am in the cage. A really good drill, and Coach Hagarty's going to get into drills a little bit. You can see I have a rope attached to each pipe, okay? And that's kind of how we teach the arc and angle at our clinics and our camps. And you can do this with your goalies. That if a shooter or coach has this string attached and you just move it like so around, that's going to allow the goalie to follow the shooter wherever that arc is. And he should always be in the middle of the 2 strings, okay? So a good drill and a good reference for your goalies to use, certainly with arc and angle there. Kind of getting into, some bounce shots now that we have. Our positioning in the cage with our ready position and our arc and angle. Bounce shots, always tricky saves for goalies to make. More and more kids are playing on turf fields now, not as much grass. So the bounce is a little bit truer, which is good. But as Coach Hagarty referenced, we teach it step body balance. So again, I'm in the cage, ready position, bounce shots coming, stepping on that 45-degree angle. I'm stepping, I'm bringing my body to balance up squarely, and then I'm balancing up with my feet as if I'm in the ready position. So if we kind of go full speed, I'm here, I'm stepping, bringing the body, balancing up, getting my head over the ball, stick down. Notice how I got it a little bit of an angle so the ball dies. I can then clamp it and get it up to start the offense. Okay, as your goalies become a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more advanced, okay, you can do that step body balance, get down there, get a little bit of a cradle, and then get the ball up and out. But there's nothing wrong with stepping, getting the body there, balancing up, and getting down on the ball, head over it, and clamping it, okay? You see a lot of these more advanced goalies turning the butter like this when they make the save and getting it up, and that will come with your goalies through better stick skills and training and things of that nature. The reason, again, we kind of go back to the duck foot is getting out on that 45-degree angle. We're making a play on the ball, Okay, we're attacking it. We're getting our body there. We're stepping. We're balancing up. Where a lot of goalies get beat with shots over the shoulders or even low bounce shots is when they're here and they step laterally. They're here and they step laterally. They're not cutting off the angle. It can hit, come over the shoulder. I'm trying to use my stick too much to make a save. Okay, weak side, particularly there. I'm stepping. A little bit of my body's there. I'm relying too much on my stick to get there. Whereas, again, I'm stepping out on the 45. I'm attacking. You keep hearing that word attacking. I'm attacking, getting the body there, bouncing up, and cutting off the angle of the shot. Coach Hagarty, again, we'll get into drills and tennis balls and things of that nature to help with younger goalies feeling comfortable getting hit with the ball. Any questions? Okay. Coach Hagarty, anything to add on points that I've gone over, things that I've missed or other things?
Yeah, just Coach, hop in the cage there for me real quick, and just to do something, you know, as a coach, if you were my goalie, and just to give you some common things that we've always found that you might notice that don't look right, that you can adjust no matter what style your goalie plays. One of those things being, Coach, just demonstrate kind of chicken wings with those arms, what chicken wings look like, right? You see a lot of young goalies in that position. That's one of those things we call non-negotiables. We try and break that habit every single summer where you bring those elbows down, push the hands out, right? So if you notice elbows are pointed at the sidelines, don't shoot the ball until goalie gets the elbows down, hands out. That's a big, you know, in our world, that's a big change we make in a lot of goalies' games. The other one being, you know, Coach Quirk kind of alluded to it, that athletic linebacker stance, right? Kind of that athletic position that's used in all of sport where you're at your most athletic. A thing that I've found that really helps get goalies in that position, Coach, can you hear me, Coach?
I certainly can.
Put your hands on your knees. Push your chest up. Push your hips back. Put your hands out in front of you. Right? So a lot of times you'll notice some goalies stand too far up. If you get them to drop that stick, push their hands down on their knees, push their hips back and hands out, that always seems to get them in that spot that you'll look at them and go, okay, you look more like a goalie now. But you'll notice a whole lot of different stuff that they're doing that might not look right. That's a good way to get their bodies in a good position. The last one that Coach didn't really hit on, kind of that foot positioning, right? So do you see some goalies standing on their tippy toes, some that are too far back on their heels? We always use the analogy, you should be able to slide a credit card underneath the heels of a goalie, right? You use balls of the feet. Kids don't always know what that means. You should be able to slide a credit card underneath Coach Quirk's heels right now. That's going to put him in the spot to be most effective to attack that ball. So those are just some of those little things that you can use and ways to help them get into a better position. But some of those are the bad habits that we consistently break when we have 100 goalies on campus every summer at our camp.
Hey guys, real quick. I found there for those, if your screen views are off on who's talking and who's showing. For instance, if Eric's talking and Coach Quirk is demoing, if you go to the top right corner, I believe, of his small screen, there's 3 dots. You can spotlight one of them, so that will keep that person as the main screen. And then, so again, if Eric's talking and Sean's in goal demoing, you can spotlight Sean's and it will keep his as the main screen on it. So just want to share that. And there was one question that popped up. Do you recommend walking around the crease to get visual reference? And how far back to the goalie line do you coach kids to step up?
Can you repeat that?
Do you recommend walking around the crease to get visual reference? Not exactly sure. And how far back to the goal line do you coach kids to step up?
Okay, yeah. So, kind of talked a little bit about that arc and angle, okay, coming out typically. And again, it depends on goalie size. So playing a really flat arc, okay, right here, heels on the goal line, I'm giving up a lot of cage, especially as a smaller goalie. Where you can see this visually, I take one step out, I'm cutting off that angle a little bit. Whereas a lot of youth goalies get in trouble is coming out so high. You see them out here, and I got like 4 feet behind me. So ball's up top, pass is made down the wing or the alley here. I got to recover so much to get back in. So really keeping that consistent arc of 6, 7, 8 inches roughly off the goal line is prototypically perfect for any goalie. And again, depending on size a little bit, guys will adjust there.
And additionally too, I think something that's helpful with kind of what Coach, pull that string that you have there to a clear point. So you can really see that string creates a point, right? And now go ahead and put that on the ground and go stand back in the cage. So you asked the question about how far off of goal line do you want to stand. You'll notice that if Coach Quirk stands flat on the goal line, almost in the cage right now, and has to make a step to his right and get all the way to that pipe, go ahead. That's a pretty big step. So now if he takes one step, like he said, forward and plays a little higher of an arc, that step is that much smaller. So as we kind of get into drills, if there's one tool you should get, it's a bag of tennis balls and a string, and shoot from the point and let the goalie see exactly what he or she is giving up. But if you play a higher arc, that's exactly where you need to get to the string in order to cover up a shot that's going to the pipe. So that string is a great tool to answer that question, and you can move it all over the front of the crease, right? And you can see exactly from every angle what the shooter can see, the goalie can see that.
Great clarification there too, Coach. Playing the ball behind, ideally I wish I had some shooters and feeders out here. But to really cover playing the ball behind, fundamentally, it's the same exact positioning as if the ball is in front, okay? Just going to move this page up a little bit so you can hear me, is when I'm in the cage playing the ball behind, I'm in my ready position, okay? Stick isn't up here. I'm not up here, okay? If there's a feed coming, and I'm up here like this trying to intercept the pass, I got to turn and then readjust to make the save. Let's take a chance and play the ball behind so when it is fed over the top of the cage, maybe I can intercept it. And if not, I'm turning and bang, I'm right back in my ready position. Again, taking away some of the weak side, giving more on my strong side. So I'm playing the ball behind as if it was in front. Positioning on the field, I'm looking straight up field. We got top left, top center, top right, left side, right side, back right. At X, ball's right behind the cage, that's X, and then back left. Everything stays consistent as I'm looking upfield from the cage. So when I'm turned, you would say, well, that's back right. But if I'm a defender here playing the ball, that is still my left. And that's how we communicate to our defensive players on the field. So when the ball is back at X, okay, I'm straight behind. You can see like this. Ball goes back left. I'm just turning a little bit. So now the ball is fed top left. I'm pivoting, taking away that weak side, giving more on my strong side. If it's fed top center, pivoting, taking away the weak side, giving more on my strong side. Fed all the way across crease, I'm turning, pivoting, taking away that weak side, giving up my strong side. So constantly taking away that weak side, giving a little bit more on my strong side, and very limited foot movements in the cage.
A quick question for Eric here, someone on the string idea, asking generally how far the point of the string should be from the cage.
Yeah, so in terms of that string drill, the length of that string doesn't necessarily matter. If I had to make a suggestion, get maybe like a 15, 20 yards or less of string. I would say it should be almost a comfortable shooting distance away from the goalie. So if you pull that to a point where you're standing as a shooter, should be a distance that you feel comfortable shooting on him from, right? So, as you can see, Coach Quirk's is probably, 5-6 yards on each side. So that's probably 12 or 13 yards of string. But just that it can get to a point and the goalie can stand inside of it. There's no formula, but that just is a reference tool for when the goalie's in the cage.
Great. So that's playing the ball behind when it's back at X, back left. Same thing when it's back right. Ball's back at X, pivoting, turning, taking away that weak side. When should goalies come to the pipe? If this player back at X is now engaging, he's a feeder behind, but driving the pipe to engage, to potentially be a goal scorer. Okay? Typically, this line here through the net, you can see that feeder or that dodger coming right around typically 3-4 yards behind the cage. That's when I'm coming on the pipe. Okay? I'm coming on the pipe, again, in my ready position. Notice my body. I'm taking up part of the cage. I'm still on the pipe, protecting it. So now if there's a feed, I'm just moving on that arc and not making crazy big steps. Whereas if we come to the pipe and we're playing it straight up, now there's a feed. I got to recover, taking myself way out of position to make that save. So again, I'm here, I'm on the pipe, ball's fed. Now I'm just playing that arc as I normally would. Same thing on opposite side. Ball's at X, ball's back left, drive, coming on the pipe, I'm engaging the pipe, I'm here. Now I'm just playing my arc. So ready position leads to arc and angle, to playing the ball behind, and straight on shots from there. So that's really, overall covering every component, again, starting with the ready position, the foundation of what we look like in the cage as a goalie, to arc and angle, to shading, to playing the ball behind. Once that ball's fed straight up top again, we're back to square one. Ready position, straight on shots, arc and angle. So it's not overly complicated, but I think the complicated part, particularly for youth goalies, is getting comfortable in the cage. And just getting in there and kind of moving around how I was is a great tool that they can do with you as a coach or on their own through watching these kind of videos and that sort of thing. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Hagarty to start to get into his segment here.
Awesome. KB, any questions? Good. Awesome. So just to kind of segue a little bit, right? One of those challenges that we mentioned was if you do ultimately get that time, right? You get 10 minutes in practice. What are the drills, things that you can be doing with your goalies to help them get better, to support it, and to foster that position? The first thing I'll say is that, just getting your goalie shots and drills isn't always a great idea. We've seen that and heard that from coaches. Should we have these guys in our shooting drills? And the answer is yes, but not at a high volume. I think that's probably the fastest way to, deter a young player than having to go into that shooting drill and make that his biggest part of practice. So, making that intentional effort to, say, hey, we'll want you in this drill, take a few reps, and then get the goalie right out of it. But then making sure that you're following up with, some of the things I'm going to give you and letting them know that their development matters, right? And talk about fostering growth in that position for players to see that there's one-on-one coaching at a certain position that might entice them to want to play. So if you do get 10 minutes, say with your goalie or goalies, what kind of drills can you be doing? Number one, that string drill that Coach Quirk just mentioned. We do that almost, every other day at Endicott. We pull that string to different points. We typically shoot on our goalies with tennis balls during that drill, right? You use real balls too much, you start to develop, I call them Band-Aid habits. because you're just trying not to get hit with the ball, right? So getting the tennis balls going, having just a bag of them every day at practice, we can focus on form, attacking that ball, knowing your angles, and that's a great way for goalies to develop, I call it net presence, right? It's that visual reference of what the cage looks like behind you, right? So at bare minimum, if you had a bag of tennis balls that's string pulled to a point and you shot on that goalie with those tennis balls, that would help them develop, again, that net presence, that ability to know what the cage looks like behind them. So that's a great tool. I think the biggest thing that we focus on with our goalies at Endicott are drills that foster that, calling it step body balance, right? Coach mentioned that ready position is in detail to allow goalies to step to the ball effectively, attack it, bring their body and balance up. So typically during a course of a practice, we'll have goalies start out with their sticks on the ground. Coach Quirk, you want to help me here? Just drop that stick. We'll put them in the cage. They'll get into their ready position without a stick, right? And a coach will just start with a ball in their hand and will lob them at the player, right? Focus on the step, getting their body in front of it and resetting, right? Not even having to worry about catching it, right? You might have a goalie who doesn't have a confident stick that's more worried about catching the ball than saving the ball, right? So if that's a problem, we'll say drop your stick, get in that ready position, and let's just catch the ball with your hands, right? Something you might notice, the goalie may be catching the ball out here, kind of away from their body. Easy fix, right? Catch it in front of your chest, right? Get that body there, catch it in front of your chest. In the old days, if that was a problem, you can't do it anymore, coach would say, put your hands behind your back and make the save, right? I wouldn't suggest it. Don't do it. But that was always the way to really make the goalie understand it's about getting your body behind the ball, right? So we typically build from no stick to then getting a short stick in their hands, right? Pick up an attackman stick, use the tennis balls, make that save with a smaller head, right? Again, you can't count on that bigger goalie stick as much, still driving your body to that ball. So typically we'll do a set with just their hands with a short stick, and then we'll slowly then move into making that save with their goalie stick. In terms of other drills that you can do with them, Coach Quirk kind of mentioned ball behind. We do turn and react, right? So if Coach Quirk is there in the cage, we'll start with him facing X. If you have a second goalie, this is a great time to engage them, and they can just feed it from X up top. If not, you can just give them a verbal cue. You can say, shot, turns, identifies the shooter, makes the save. And just a really good way to build those habits of how to turn, find the shooter, see the ball, and then properly step body balance to attack it. Coach Quirk, you got something to add? Good? Okay. I think probably, one of the best things that you can do is we do this a lot with our goalies, video analysis, right? When we do it with our goalies, all it takes is the cell phone that we have. We'll lean it against the ball bucket, and we'll film the goalies for 2 minutes, and from those things that you're picking up from us and you're coaching them on, it's such a good way for them to be able to see what they look like, right? They don't really know what they're looking like in the cage. So if you take 2 minutes to shoot on them, shoot all over, show them on the phone and just say, here's kind of what I'm seeing from you, right? This. It's such a helpful way. During this period, Coach Quirk and I have started doing some virtual private lessons where we're offering Compete Goalie. And just having these young goalies see what they look like on film, half of them I don't think really know, hey, I'm actually doing this, right? I look like a goalie, but I'm not stepping to the ball properly. So if you can take 2 minutes to film them, that might even let you then, do it outside of practice, right? You can meet with them after and just say, hey, here's what I want to show you, right? I've told you to step to the ball, you're not stepping to the ball. But it's such a great tool, that video analysis piece, to just help those goalies develop and know what they look like in the cage. The biggest thing I think you can do is just put together circuits that your goalies can do without you during practice, right? When we do those circuits, typically it'll have 1 or 2 footwork drills. So a jump rope, an agility ladder. If you don't have an agility ladder, we'll use sticks and we'll do stick hops, just kind of changing sides of the stick to increase foot speed. And then we'll typically have them do a combination of step body balance drills. So if they have a partner, doing kind of that partner drill I just demonstrated with Coach Quirk, or off of a wall, right? A lot of towns are starting to build those walls, or they have, the wall in the school. Playing goalie wall ball, right? Shooting on themselves almost and focusing on making that proper step. So if you can create a, 10, 12-minute segment where they're doing goalie drills, that might then allow them to not have to jump into shooting drills and ultimately get deterred from playing the position. So again, footwork's a great thing to build in: jump ropes, ladders, stick hops, and then those step body balance drills, right? Either being off the wall with a teammate, with a coach, or just on their own. Coach, in terms
Say it again, Coach.
anything to add in terms of drills?
A couple other drills that you can do, goalies can do on their own. Certainly walk in the line. Were you going to cover these, Coach?
Yeah, you can cover it since you've got the stick in the hand.
Okay. Again, you can use an end line, a restraining line, have the goalie straddle that line in ready position. I'm stepping, get my body bouncing up. So my foot should be over that line. Whereas if I'm here and I'm stepping, my foot's not over the line, not the proper technique. So they can just go straight up the line. Bam. Making saves right here. Continue up the line. Another one is you can get 3 balls out. Goalies can do this together. There's a ball here. I'm starting on the ball, and I'm attacking it. Getting down over the ball. Getting down over the ball. Getting down over the ball. 2, 3 goalies can do that. 1 goalie can do that. Kind of some drills at home that goalies can do at practice as well. Another one, to attack in that ready position. You're the other goalie on the film there, okay? Hand behind, 1 hand up, and we're just playing catch and attacking the ball once I receive it. So you're throwing the ball to me, I'm receiving it, attacking the ball, uses that hand-eye coordination just to visualize and see the ball. Another one, if I'm playing a little bit of wall ball, throwing it off the wall, ball's coming back, catching it, throwing it back to the wall. So again, throwing it at the wall, attacking and stepping, getting the body behind it. Those are all things that goalies can do on their own, certainly at home. At practice, when you're trying to manage 20, 30, 40 other kids, goalies can do some of those things on their own as well.
Awesome. So those are just a couple, through our social media on Peak Goalie, Instagram, and things like that. We are and will continue to post drills and just things like that you can take back to your programs. In terms of kind of my last piece, and it's a question we get a lot, which is, how do you find your goalie, right? You might be in town and you got interest in the sport, but what do you do to find who's a good fit as a goalie? And, I said this to Coach Quirk, if we ever were to meet with a group of players on a team, within a matter of minutes working with a guy, we could probably say, or a goalie, they might be a good future goalie for them. And the biggest thing that we find is how natural is their ability to step to that ball, to attack the ball. There's some goalies we work with where it's the biggest challenge is catching it, but also getting your feet moving and getting your body there. There's some first-time goalies I've worked with, and literally if you just kind of lob a ball in their direction, they naturally want to just attack it, right? That might be their mentality. Goalies catch a reputation a little bit of being on the crazy side. And, it's that ability to want to put your body in front of a shot, right? So you might be able to look at one of your players and go, he's kind of got it, right? But do they have that ability to attack and put their body in front of the ball? The second one is, I think, really important. The days of it being the out-of-shape kid is really not when I started playing, I was, 5 years old and I had asthma. That's how I ended up in the cage. And today it's you see the Adam Gittlemans, you see the Brett Queeners. It's really finding the athletic player on your team who you might initially think is a midfielder, they could be your best goalie. And that's a selling point, I think, right? Where you can say, we want to find a really great athlete to put in that cage. And most importantly, be the leader of the defense, right? It's not just the kid who's going to be the shooting dummy. We need somebody in there that knows the game, that loves it, that's a student, but has good rapport with his teammates and can lead the defense, right? And really saying it's going to be that position that you get to be on the field. You can be the game changer, but we need a leader. We need an athlete, all these buzzwords that, I want to be, and that's how I view the position, right? And again, the thing you don't want to do, they can't be shooting dummies, right? Limit their time in the cage, control where players are shooting from, and then devote 7 minutes during practice to say, hey, I'm going to work with you right now. I want to help you get better, and use some of those drills. So those are just a couple keys from us in terms of finding that goalie. If that's a challenge, obviously, we with Coach Quirk, there's, working with talent, maybe doing something along the lines of a goalie day where, we can help work with all the players and just talk about what it means to be a goalie, a little bit of a coach. This is a desired position and people want to play. But that's just a little bit on that end. So, Quirk, anything to add there with goalie play, finding your goalies, things like that?
Yeah, Coach Hagarty hit on all the really important points. And, again, I remember when my two kids were going through youth lacrosse, and both of them are current goalies, but they weren't always. And who was that goalie going to be in the cage? Getting everyone through at least once, like Coach Hagarty said at practice. You never know who's going to fall in love with the position and find their coming as a goalie. Another good way to sell it, to some kids is playing time, right? If there's only one goalie or two goalies, you're going to play a ton, and trying to find those goalies and find their passion in there. It's, I think really important for these kids. You see high school players and then certainly college players that have played other positions. Certainly we continue to talk about playing other sports. I started off playing midfield from first grade to sixth grade, and that experience really helped me as a goalie. I saw things differently because I played defense, I played offense. That helped me be a better goalie. And vice versa. A kid might be a goalie now and then go play attack or midfield or defense. They're going to understand defensively, all right, now I know why that goalie's communicating. I know how frustrated he or she can be in there. I see things differently as a shooter now because I was a goalie. So whether they're a goalie or a non-goalie, it can just benefit to continue playing different positions and try it out at this level that you're all coaching. So.
Awesome. And then just one last thing, most towns don't have specialized goalie coaches. Growing up and kind of as I got towards middle school and high school, becoming an actual goalie, my way of getting better was every summer actually going to Coach Quirk's camp. I went to the Peak Goalie Camp. I went to a few other camps. I signed up for as many as I could, and that was my year of coaching through 3 months. I'd go on a circuit of going to goalie camp to goalie camp. It gave me stuff to fall back on. It's like when you learn something and then you get into a game, you remember back to it. But even more importantly, it kept the love going. When you spend a couple of days with just goalies and you focus on the neglected position, it kept me and keeps those goalies engaged. So, if you're the person saying, I don't know if I can devote all that time, I think it's important to encourage them to find, a goalie camp or a goalie coach or just somebody or a group that can devote that time, and they can bring that stuff back to your program. And you'll find they're more engaged, they love it, they feel empowered. And that's, I think, kind of what we're in the business of doing at Peak Goal, is empowering those players to bring their craft to the next level, but bring it back to their towns and to their high school teams. So other than that, that's, I think, pretty much the whole presentation. Obviously, KB, if there's any questions or things that we can clarify more of. I know we had mentioned maybe sending out some notes from this to those that are here. And we can definitely do that if that works for you.
Yeah, definitely. I can send along the notes. As I said, I've recorded this, so we'll have this up on our YouTube page. So if we send along the notes, you can almost kind of rewatch certain parts if you want and see their notes in the video. on it. I can't say enough about what these two do, and I think it came across today, but their passion for this position and teaching it. And I've been at numerous of their clinics that they've done for MBLL and their peak goalie camps. Definitely go online and find them on they're all over social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, the peak goalie camps, and get a lot of great content and learning on there as well. So I want to thank you guys for spending your morning here, an hour with us, and for all the coaches and any players that joined us this morning. Again, this has been a great week for me to reconnect with some friends and people I consider good friends and great teachers of this sport. So we're looking forward to it. We're going to look at potentially doing some more of these in the coming weeks as we all figure out what the next steps are. If when we're going to be able to get back out on the field as a team and play. So look for that information coming out from us to our coaches on our social media pages as well. So with that, thank you guys again, and for everyone joining us. And stay healthy, stay safe. And, we'll see everyone soon. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
Thank
KB.
you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.